Want to know what the movers and shakers of New Hampshire's performing arts are thinking? Welcome to New Hampshire Unscripted with your host, Ray Dudley.
This is Ray Dudley, Artistic Director for Square Peg Productions, and we hope you and your families are having a wonderful time this beautiful Memorial Day weekend. What do Jackie Gleason, Bob Newharts, and Sid Caesar have in common besides being great comedians? Well, they were all incredible influences on Greg Gaskell's brain. Now, I'm going to ask you up front to be very forgiving in the way this interview sounds. Greg didn't have a lot of time, and so we tried to squeeze in an hour and ended up at a storefront in the Steeplegate Mall. You can hear us kicking the table. You can hear people out in the foyer walking around. You can hear music playing. But the interview's there, and it's a beauty. Greg writes some incredible plays, hysterically funny stuff. And I really wanted to get down to the meat and the bones about where is that kind of humor coming from? Well, guess what? He is very reminiscent of the old situational comedy from shows like Carol Burnett, Dean Martin Hour, Jackie Gleason's The Honeymooners. He was greatly influenced by things like Smokey and the Bandit, as well as Bob Newhart's stand-up comedy. And if you've ever seen any of his plays, you'll see all of those plays are flavored by what we're talking about in this interview. Enjoy it. I really had a good time. And again, please be kind. The sound is a little bit rough, but we get through it. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming in. It's nice to meet you, actually, finally.
Yeah, this is long overdue, I think.
I know. I was watching the one that you had done at the Hatbox, the 8x...
The 8x8, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, my God. I looked at it, and I was so jealous because, I know Aaron, and I had seen you guys. And it reminded me of, like, some kind of, like, a college thing or, just a bunch of buddies who had gotten together and decided, dude, we get some funny stuff here. We need to put this up on a stage somewhere.
Yeah, I kind of based it up, my putting all of those things together because each of the short plays came from different things. And I kind of thought, we're just going to model this after the Muppet Show. And just have a silly couple of hours where people can just laugh.
I think the night I went, you had just come back from the hospital or something. Yeah, right?
Yeah, I was moving that weekend, and there was this old reclining sofa that I had that I just wanted to get rid of. And so I was taking it apart, and I had the back off, and I had the supports underneath taken off, and I had taken one of them out and thrown it in a truck, and I was getting ready to take the other one out, and I hit the button with my body, and it went in or went out or something, and my hand was just right, so it reclined while my hand was there. And I caught it, and my girlfriend at the time was like, we got to go to the hospital. And I'm like, I have a show in a few hours. I 100% can't go to the hospital.
Get the duct tape.
Yeah, so I'm in the bathroom, and I'm looking at it, and my fingernails hanging off, and I'm just blood everywhere. I'm like, okay, we got to make this so quick. We've got to go to the hospital so quick. Yeah, that had just happened. And that was, I forgot about that. That was just about a year ago.
Yeah, I think, and you had just come back, I think, from the hospital, right?
Yeah, I was.
At the beginning of the show.
Texting Meredith, our stage manager, and I'm in the hospital, don't freak out, it's just a finger thing. I'm going to make the show, don't worry. And I had such a small part in the show. I was basically kind of the host and just did a couple of one, actually. I did the in-between stuff, and I did one sketch at the end. And I was like, I'll be there. Don't worry about it. I'll be there. Or just make something up if I'm not there, but I'll be there. So that was a scramble. That was fun. When the things that you don't count on happen, the show must go on.
Yeah.
It's that stuff that you have to work around.
I'm almost ritualistic about things that I will and won't do during a performance for that reason.
Yeah.
I won't drive far away because I don't want to get a flat tire and get stuck. I don't want my car to break down.
Yep. You don't want to get sick, so there's certain things you won't eat.
Yeah.
So it's just like keep bland food coming, and everything will be fine. But yeah, and I you like to get to the theater at a certain time.
Yes, right.
I don't even want to be on.
We're like
time.
baseball players, you know. I won't shave for a certain. That's not true, but I mean.
Yeah, the rituals that they have, I totally get it.
Yeah, right.
I'm one of those, and I try to do as little acting as possible, but that minute before you're going on stage, if your shoes don't feel right, if you've tied them too tight or they're too loose, and you're just like, I can't go out there.
Isn't that funny? We're creatures that just odd little things that'll throw you.
As soon as it doesn't matter, a second out there, you're not even going to remember you're wearing shoes.
a lot of your stuff, so you just finished Waldo.
Yeah.
You got a show coming up called Background Check.
Yes.
You did 8x8.
Right.
So a lot of your stuff is like really off the wall. Where do they come? I'm really curious about where your ideas are coming from. Do you have a crazy family and this is heritage and genetics?
I pay attention to people. I pay attention to... I kind of don't know. We'll start with Background Check.
All right.
I had my friend Jamie, who's my partner now in Waldo, and when we did Background Check at the Rep, and when we did As Time Goes By at the Rep, and he was dating this girl, and they had never been on stage together. And I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna write them a show. And I worked out the story of Background Check in like an hour. It just took nothing. The premise is these newlyweds who are enjoying their first night together. Now, how do you, and then their pasts kind of come back to haunt them on this one particular night all at once. So you have to keep upping. So you start with something ridiculous. You start with, well, she used to work for the CIA and she stole arms from a Nazi, or something like that, some Eastern Europe dictator, and she stole arms from him, and so he shows up. And so she has to kill him because the farce needs a dead body. So now you have this dead body working around, and then you gotta go from there. Okay, what's his first knock on the door? And every time that door knocks, you change the chemistry of the entire show, and everything still has to be dealt with. You still, for the rest of the show, have to deal with the dead body. And I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's how my mind works, is you've got to keep upping the stakes.
Does meth help?
No. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. But I thought about, because I'm that one writer who doesn't drink, and I don't smoke pot, and I have my cigarettes, but I think all the time, what if I did? What if I did drink? What if I did start smoking pot? What kind of stuff would I come up with?
Yeah, I don't want to know, because the stuff that you come up with sober is fascinating.
It's if you put yourself into a position where you write for what an actor wants to do and what an audience wants to see, what an audience can relate with, if you can stay in that lane.
But not everybody has the talent to write, right? So you have a real ability to take what you think in your head, put it down on paper, and know that it can work. Where's that coming from?
Experience. I wrote a play called Sharp Dressed Men that was based on some experiences that I had. You go to enough weddings and you see a lot of silly things and inexplainable things, a lot of the tradition. And that was if I read that draft now, the first draft that I put up at the Players Ring in 2006, I would become toilet paper to me. You just learn as you go. I'm 15 years into this, and all of the exploring of the conversations of that people have. I don't know where the ideas come from, but I know that once I get a good one, and I know what to do with it.
So you already know what a good one is. You have this thought, and you're like, oh no, dude, that's going to be that's a kernel right there.
Yes and no. There are the play I wrote As Time Goes By, which we did in 2017 at the Rep, was I got this idea of somebody needing to go back in time to change something. And you think on stage, that's perfect because the set is exactly the same. You just bring the lights down and you start the same scene over again. And I thought, this is gold. I get other ideas and I think, okay, this is a really good idea. Now, when I write a play, it's going to be 100 pages long. Now, for me, that means I'm going to write 1,000 pages to get those 100 pages. So if I have a good idea, I sit and I think, can I write 1,000 pages of this?
Wait, are you serious? You write 1,000 pages?
With edits and whatever. Yeah. And I've talked to other playwrights and they're right around that. I mean, I'm probably more 700-800 at this point, but I go through and I go through and I go through to make sure everything fits because I don't ever write a play in scenes. As Time Goes By was the exception. It was still a real-time play, but it was broken up into scenes of the same 20 minutes of real time. When you come see Background Check, it's a 2-hour play, and it is every minute of those 2 hours. When we have intermission, the play picks up 15 minutes later. So you've had your 15 minutes of intermission, and the story has moved on 15 minutes, but we pick up from there. You start something, and you're going, and you You have to, when you can't just have one scene. Oh, this 10-page scene works really well. I can leave that alone and move on. If that the first 10 pages don't work, you've got to ripple it through. If the last 10 pages don't work, you've got to ripple it through the rest of the play. Something like Background Check, I'm adding a character and changing drastically 2 of the characters. Starting from scratch with 3 characters. So that 100-page play, I've got to go through and make another 25, 30 pages of adjustments, and I have to keep working on those 30 pages too.
So has Background Check already been done once?
This will be the 3rd time.
It will?
Yeah. Yeah, we did it at the Players Ring. I cannot remember when, but then we did it at the Rep. Cannot believe they did this for us. The Rep has just been so good to me. They, in 2016, in May of 2016, 3 years ago, the friend that I wrote it for was at the time an associate artistic director there. And I sent him a text. I said, remember Background Check? Do you think we could talk to somebody and maybe get a weekend at the Rep? Do you think maybe they'd let us do it? And we kind of went through and nobody said no. And everybody was very welcoming for it. And I thought, this is fantastic. So we did it there. And I made some changes. And Jamie and I sat down and we figured out some adjustments that we wanted to make in the script and some things to make it funnier, to make it better, to make it more of a real story rather than a workshopped piece like it was at the Players Ring. And this is that play where I'm like, it was a goof the first time I did it. It was just a load of gags that I threw together the first time I did it. And then the second time I thought, I'll make some adjustments and this will be even more fun. And now at Hatbox, I'm thinking, man, what could this thing be if I really put my shoulder into it? If I really, really focus on this play, what could it be? And that's where I'm at right now, and I'm having a blast with it. But
so what are you finding when you look at this particular one? What jumps out at you? What do you think could be embellished that you thought before was already done?
The premise is that everybody has a backstory and nobody is what they seem. So a character comes in and you absolutely don't expect them to have the past that they have. So what you want to try to do is you have your point A character and then you're going to reveal throughout the play and they're ultimately going to become a point B character. You can adjust the A character to make the B way more interesting. I wish I could give you an example of that. It's finding that, in this particular case with Background Check, it's finding the most interesting place to start the character so that their journey is even more interesting when they reach completion.
So you're stripping it down completely and starting from a kernel again, or you just...
No, there's a lot of things that I love about it and a lot of things that really work about it. It's a true ensemble piece. There's 10 people in the cast. So if I change one character, that is going to ripple quite a bit through, but it's not going to, I don't think, invade into the other things that happen. And as I'm working it through in my head, it makes way more sense. And I wish, this is why plays are never finished, you wish you'd thought of this all those years ago. But you learn as you go, and you make adjustments as you go.
What made you decide to even write plays?
The very first show I did, I loved really good dialogue, really good smart dialogue. And the very first play I did was The Foreigner by Larry Shue, 18 years ago, something like that.
1918?
19 or 18 years ago. I can't remember when it was, early 90s. And, no, more than that, 30 years ago. Almost 30 years ago. And I remember looking at the script. I remember right where I was. I was standing by a lake and I was looking through lines and I was looking through the way the script was structured. And I thought, I can do that. This doesn't look that complicated. I could do that. And then you learn how to make people talk. And then you further learn how to make people say the things that they want to say. You know, you as an actor and you read a script, I did not get to see the one... True, yes. I did not get to see that. But everybody, you reached Portsmouth, everybody was talking about that show over in Portsmouth.
Oh, my God.
And I can't remember why, but I wasn't able to see it. I was busy doing something else. But I'm certain when somebody handed you that script, there are pieces of it where you thought, give me that. I want that. I want to be out there and I want to be saying those lines. And I love that moment for actors when I come up with something that they're going to love. I love it.
Yeah, you get that feeling. I got that feeling when I watched 8x8. There were times, especially, there was so much going on. You could tell that they really were invested. They loved saying what they were saying. And the two women who did the radio show, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I love them.
God almighty, that was hilarious.
And Pepper. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was Carrie L. Did I? Oh, my God.
Did you know? Yeah. We could spend the next 2 hours with me talking about Carrie Allen.
Yeah, I believe it. And then when you get to the Mafia one at the end, God, jeez. And you could tell they couldn't wait to say their life. They knew they were hysterical and they were invested.
We had such a great time. And I love it when all of my shows go that way. And it's a little bit funny because when 8x8 was closing, everybody was like, oh, show's closing. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm just getting started here at Hatbox. The horizon is, where we're at.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're having fun with this one. I've got other stuff too.
You remind me a lot in a very special way. I've been fascinated lately. I'm stuck on YouTube watching Jonathan Winters on the Johnny Carson show. And I'm addicted to it.
Really?
He's a genius. He's just, he loves to come on and he loves to be put on the spot. But you seem to me to have that same ambition, that same genius, that same drive, that same creative ability. And you need to spew it. You got to get it out.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm a huge fan of Bruce Springsteen. And I had been watching, he got some kind of award, and he should get every award, but he got some kind of award, and it was a big thing. And Jon Stewart was introducing him. And he does this whole beautiful thing about Bruce Springsteen and being from New Jersey and something like that. And at the end of it, he says, whatever you're doing, your performance or your family or whatever you're doing, you empty the tank. And that's what we should be doing.
It's a great perception.
When you're out there, you should be. When I write, I try to empty the tank because I won't sleep at night if I don't. And I think that there is actor in me when I write. And that helps, I think, a lot. Because I can more clearly, you and I have never met. We've known each other for 20 minutes. But because of, for what it's worth, my acting background, I can write better because I understand what you understand and what you want to do. And it makes my job very fun.
Now, you gave me the number 15. You've been doing this for, did you say 15 years?
I've been writing plays for 15 years, yeah.
So when did that start? Do you have a writing background? Did you go to college and take grammar or any kind? You just decided, I'm going to pick up a pencil, the Larry Shue thing, and you just decided to write. I
knew this guy in college. He was 19 years old, and he was the epitome of what an artist was. He sculpted, and he wrote, and he painted, and he played his guitar. He was, at 19 years old, the smartest man I've ever met in my life, or will ever meet in my life. He was just so inspiring. We became best friends, and we were talking about stuff. He was showing me some of his paintings. We were hanging around in his dorm room, and he said one time, I don't play the guitar because I want to. I play it because I have to. And that's why I write. I love it. I got to get these stories out. I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced that every artist has that in them. Yeah. Some of them can't do it, right? Or do it. They can't do it enough, end up dying because that pain or that creativity or whatever, they cannot seem to justify the need to put that out there, which is unfortunate. But I certainly get that point. I think that every one of us as artists have that because I feel that as an actor, sure, that there's something I have to emote. I have to. Right. And my wife keeps asking me because I did a lot more theater for free. And she's like, why do you keep doing this? You get tired. I said, I didn't know what to do if I don't do it. Right. It's what I'm good at for some reason. And I have to do it. Yeah. I can't not do it. If you've got the gift, you've got to use the gift. I think so. Is any of your writing collaborative, or do you just do it all on your own? The writing part is me, and the people that are familiar working with me know that the actual typing part is me. And I'm going to come up with the dialogue, and I have several people. Chris Savage is a perfect example. He and I have worked together very steadily for 15 years, and he'll pull me aside and say, this doesn't work. With Waldo, he basically altered Waldo's or his character in Waldo. He said, look, we got done with the redo, and he said, this doesn't feel right. And Chris is somebody that I greatly admire and respect. And so we talked about some stuff, and he said, I need to, what do you think about shifting this way? And sometimes I got to think about it for a little bit and filter it through my head, and other times I can just say, yeah, let's do it. And it took me a little bit. It took me time to understand how this will work in the story, how making these changes will work in the, as I said, real-time story that now I've got to ripple this all the way through. Fortunately, the changes weren't that severe, but I get a lot of people that say to me, would you write a play about, and that doesn't work. I would if anybody's listening out to that knows me, please don't ever do that. It just doesn't work. You can't, it's not an on-demand thing where you can just say, I've got to just get that flash and go. And once I get the flash, I can go. But it's the production. When we actually put the production up, that's when the collaboration is so necessary. When everybody is putting their 2 cents in and saying, it would be funny if, could I tweak this one line to say this? Or I'll say to you, Ray, you accidentally said blah, blah, blah when I wrote blah, blah, blah. Keep what you said. It works way better. And when we're all working together on this thing, and it's so much fun with comedy, when we're all working together on this one thing, all of the brains focused on this one thing, I'll take credit as the playwright, but man, the show is ours.
Man, it's impressive. It's impressive that you care enough that it be a collaborative event. Some of the folks I've talked to before, I've discussed this subject of whether or not the play should be the director's idea, and he just moves the people around, and they just become another component, just like a set piece,
Right.
Or do they have almost the courage to invite the actors to collaborate and get involved? Because some of them almost have a fear of releasing that, and they have to micromanage the whole thing. Right. Which can be devastating for some of us. So I'm glad to hear that you enjoy that you're not afraid to get that input from people.
My nightmare is this. It's opening night. The show is up. The audience is in there. And we missed something. We missed a gag. We missed a moment. We missed something. And we've got to live.
Has that ever happened? Have you found it?
Every time. Every single time.
Do you change anything, or do you ride it out?
Sometimes we'll change on the fly if it can be done. But other times, if it's a chunk of dialogue, I want to put a knife in my eye. If it's my fault, if I did something that just doesn't work, it's a knife in my eye.
So, okay, that's a great point. So you're watching, and this must be like when a movie comes out and they kind of pre-screen it with audiences to see if they like it, and they're like, oh, geez, this is devastating. Nobody likes the movie or whatever. So you either hear or don't hear a reaction. Yep. That's what's going on there?
Yep. And you don't hear the reaction that you want, and it's just, And sometimes I'll get reactions for things that I hate that are in the script. Sometimes I'll get a big laugh for something, and I don't want to put my daughter on the spot here because she's going to think I'm offended by this, but there's some line in some play, and she happened to be reading the script, and she was like, Dad, I don't like this line. And I said, honey, I hate it too. I hate that line, but it's going to get a huge laugh. I got to leave it in. And it makes me crazy. Yep.
Did it get the laugh?
Always does. Always does. If memory serves, I think it's in background check.
Oh, yeah?
It is, yeah. And I have no memory of what it was. She might, because her brain's better than mine. But she was like, I hate that line. Yep, me too.
How do you keep fresh? How do you keep... You appear to be somebody whose just mind is consumed. It's busy. It's got a lot going on. There's a lot of thoughts, a lot of components, a lot of pieces, like for shows that are coming up or things that are past, like you said, that you need to rewrite, that you just seem to be a busy... How do you keep that? Do you meditate? Do you
Yeah, well, okay, so my day job, is that I drive a front-load recycle truck. I'm one of the ones with the arms that come out and they lift it up.
Oh, yeah? Like waste management?
For Casella. And so my day is free. My mind is free all day. I'm just driving around. So I keep a notebook and I have my phone and it just records. And I go through spells for a long time where I don't do anything with theater. And I've learned that when you don't have an idea, don't force it. Just let it go and live your life.
So you're not one of those artists who are like, oh, every day I got to just... There's 2 hours I set aside or 5 pages I got to write.
Nope, because I know it's going to come. Because it always does.
Huh.
And I know that I don't... So between Hatbox and the Players Ring and Seacoast Repertory Theater, my projects are very spread out. Hatbox, you can pitch a show a year, or you can pitch as many as you want, but they're really probably only going to expect, pick one. Players Ring is the same thing. So I have an entire year to put everything I've got into this one project. I don't do much. I hope I never act again.
Seriously?
Yeah, I don't enjoy it anymore. And my schedule doesn't allow it, but I don't enjoy learning lines and I don't enjoy going to rehearsals. And this has only come across the past few years it's bittersweet. I put everything into my production, my show that I've written, my idea that has turned into this 100-page thing, and I've brought in some of the most talented people I'll say this, some of the most talented people in the world to put my show up, and it goes up at the Rep. They built me a set, and I have ushers walking people to their seats and handing a... How do you go back to acting in someone else's show?
Oh, you're killing me.
You can't. There's nothing that... I have no bucket list for shows other than my shows. There may be a part that I write for myself that I want to do, but...
Like a Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I try to give myself really good stuff in my shows, just because if I'm going to do this, let's do this. But it was why I wasn't in 8x8 that much. I was just in a couple of little things. I didn't want to learn those lines. I didn't want to. My dialogue is very difficult to learn. I didn't want to do that.
Wow.
The trucker sketch. You remember the trucker
yes,
sketch?
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Oh. Those people trying to learn those lines and
what?
talking over each other.
Oh my God, it was crazy. I loved it. It came off so well.
The audience loves it because it's like trucker music.
You would never have known that it was that difficult.
Brutal for them to learn. And I remember talking to my co-director, Kelsey Dominy.
I love Kelsey, yeah.
She's great. And I said, we're not doing Kings. We're not doing Kings of the Road. Trust me, we're not doing Kings. And I said the same thing to Carrie L. You're not doing it. You're not going to learn that dialogue. We're going to get those other 5 flunkies, and they're going to learn it.
Oh my God.
But we're going to stay away from it. Because when I get in the groove and it's got to be done right, it's very tricky dialogue because I love fast.
Oh my God, you reminded me too of the cowboy sketch. Yeah. That was it. Oh my God. I was roaring.
I love those sketches. I don't think they're as funny as the audience does. My favorite sketch of the whole night was Odell, the alien, the two idiots talking. That's my favorite one. And I look for that one every single night.
How about just a little side topic here? TV. You have any shows that you love, that you did love?
I will tell you a story. This is my favorite story.
Fire away.
I am young, 12, 13, 14 years old. And we had, this was early 80s, we had cable and we had HBO, and there were 2 TVs, with the big box TVs. There was one down in the family room and one up in my parents' room. And I remember there was this movie that I wanted to watch. I don't remember what it was, but I remember just having my heart set on it. It's on tonight. I'm going to watch this. I can't wait. My dad comes home from work and I said, hey, I need to watch this thing tonight. I'm a 12, 13-year-old kid. And he says, no, I need the TV tonight. There's something I want to watch. I'm like, I was furious. I really wanted to watch this, whatever it was. And he says, no, there was a show on from my childhood. They're doing a special on HBO and I want to watch this. He said, come watch it with me. And I said, no, I'm too upset. I go upstairs, the night goes on, and I'm upstairs in the living room, and I can hear. Now, my dad he's a very charming man, and he's a gentleman. And when he gets laughing, something has got to be funny. And I hear him upstairs, so I begrudgingly go downstairs, and I want to see what he's watching. He is watching a documentary on Sid Caesars' Your Show of Shows. And I looked at the TV, and I sat down, and I started watching it. And the two of us lost our minds for an hour, and that night changed my life. I loved everything about what I was watching. And I've studied how they did things back then. And if you ask me, what point in history do you want to live in? Where do you want to be? I want to be in the writer's room for Sid, because they changed the world.
That's a great story. We did Laughter on the 23rd Floor, which is Neil Simon. Yeah. Oh, God. And it's all about that room.
Yep. They did it at the Rep. And I said, I don't care if I sweep the stage afterwards, just get me involved with this show. And I ended up being cast as Val and had to learn a Russian accent. That was a little terrifying, but God, to be in that room. I mean, I read one of Sid's biographies, and just they changed the world. The way they did things changed the world. And that's why the collaboration works. You have all of these writers in there with Sid, and Monday morning at 10 o'clock, everybody comes to work to do the show that's going up Saturday night.
Live
in front of 50 million people. Everybody gets
no pressure.
No. You wonder why he just took, pills by the gallon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the energy and the collaboration, and if it's, like we were saying earlier, if it's one guy doing it by himself, you miss.
Yeah, I remember reading, I was doing some research on that, and the team was constructed in such a way that they would come in after the weekend and they would all talk about Life magazine or something they had read over the weekend or who had gone to Broadway, and they come in with all these ideas and they're pulling them apart and they begin to work on their own little skits. And then they all had their part. He said, they would have some dialogue. They would go to Neil Simon for the dialogue, right. But then they needed a gag and they would go to Mel Brooks. Right. And because he was the zaniest guy on the team. Yep. And they would somehow put that gag in there, work the dialogue with Neil Simon. Yep. And then they had all these other guys like Carl Reiner in there. And
I forget the woman's name, but playing in the
Yes,
studio, and
yes.
we need a song. We need to come up with a song.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and then from there comes the Dick Van Dyke Show, right, which is kind of based upon that writer's room.
That, yeah.
You remind me a lot, your writing style and your stuff reminds me a lot of the Carol Burnett stuff with the Tim Conway and the Harvey Korman stuff. Because
one of the reasons, and we can call it success, one of the reasons that I've had
it is success
that I've had is I'm the only one doing what I'm doing. I mean, there's other playwrights out there, but they're more dramatic. They're more, in that vein.
Yeah.
I'm the only one trying to keep this golden age of comedy alive, and it's alive and well with my audiences because they respond to it so well. And if you write smart, funny stuff and you stay just a little bit ahead of them, they love it.
Yeah, you've got a whole different style, right? So most playwrights, they're playwrights, right? They do that whole I'm going to write 5 pages today or so many hours. They sit there, they'll sit in front of this screen, whether they write anything or not, just be disciplined. They vet their stuff. They send it off to have people edit it and rework it, and they come back. You've got that very freewheeling, freelance kind of style, but you know what you like, and you're not afraid to put it out there.
I know what I like, I know what you like, and I know what the audience likes because I've been 15 years studying it. And I know it's a simple, because I try to, Background Check is a poor example of this, but I try to, by the end of the play, reach our joint humanity in such a way where we can all identify with what's happening. Example, so I'm going to write a play for you, and I need you to, you're not going to say anything. You're going to come on stage, and you're going to struggle to open a jar of pickles. Every actor in the world would love to do that. Mm-hmm. You're thinking in your head right now, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make it? And the audience is zoned in on you because they've all been there. And they've all struggled on this jar of pickles. Everybody has, and you cannot open this thing. And you struggle and you struggle and you struggle and you run into hot water and you tap it on the counter and nothing's working. So you go out in the next room and you're back 3 seconds later with a hammer because you've just had enough. Everybody's laughing at this point, right? Then the phone rings. And somebody says, your wife has just passed away. You can grieve as much as you want in that because you've earned it with that jar of pickles. You've earned everybody can relate to everything that's happening to you. Do you see what I mean? Where's Waldo was a really good example of that. It was, I wrote it for people get stuck. Everybody does. We get stuck in our lives. And early on we learn that it's an investment firm. And early on we learned that the owner of the investment firm has passed away. And his protege, or whatever a mentor is to somebody else, he's keeping the business going and he's vanished and all the money's gone. And so we spend Act 1 trying to figure out where he went, what do we do to him? He stole our money, he ruined our business, we're going to jail. And it's all of these crazy ideas of how we catch Waldo and get our money back and put him in jail and keep going with our life. Big reveal at the end of Act 1, Waldo has been tied up in the basement. He's been taken hostage. And he breaks the basement door down. It's this big reveal at the end of Act 1, and everybody's like, what? There's your hook to come back for Act 2. And Act 2 is, I set up very quickly that Waldo thinks one of us, the three of us, kidnapped him and put him down in the basement so that we could steal the money and get away. And it comes to reveal that he did it to himself. He kidnapped himself, put himself down there, and no money was taken. He was just trying to get us all to leave this job. The audience has been following us the entire time, and they've been following the clues, and I've been taking them down the trail that I want them to go. And this thing that was, I don't want to say brush past, but this thing that I took you on this journey the wrong way on purpose, because I needed you to understand these 3 characters. And the show stops dead because Waldo's mentor died. He died here in this office, in this bathroom late one night with nobody around him. He had a heart attack in a bathroom and he died. And the show stops at that point. And that moment that I brushed over very quickly in the beginning, this person died and Waldo's taking over the business, that moment suddenly becomes the focal point of the play. In my mind, it was always the focal point of the play. But I distracted you with misdirection and stuff like that, but you still got it. And Waldo had done all of this to try to get us to move on. And I revealed through this play that I am chasing a dead-end relationship. And Chris's character is better than where he's working and needs to move on someplace else. And Faye has this dream of living in a lake house, living by herself in a lake house. And he's been trying all of these different things to get us out of there. And he just had this stupid idea. I'm going to kidnap myself and get them to turn on each other so that they will leave and never come back here and not be stuck here anymore, because none of them are going to die in the bathroom. And everybody can relate to that. It's wonderful when we put that story together. It was wonderful putting that story together. I honestly wasn't sure what we were going to talk about with this. Yeah.
That's why I appreciate you coming in. I know you're very liberal with your ideas. So I'm jealous on so many levels because, I've tried to write some stuff in the past, but I'm not a writer. I am an actor, and so that's what I do. But I love the success. I love the fact that you don't really... I want to be careful. It's not that you don't care, but what people think, because you very well do. You do care. Right. But yet you don't care so much that it stops you from writing. Does that make sense? You don't seem to be, you're not worried about what a reviewer might say, but you're very well...
I'm worried about what a reviewer might say in that they are part of my audience.
So you do care what a reviewer would say? Because it's one opinion.
It's one opinion, and maybe it's going to go out, and who knows how many people are going to read it or be affected by it or whatever like that. But
enough to alter your show based on that one?
Let's use Michael Curtis as an example. He's been a guest on your show. Lovely man. Yeah. I love Michael. When Michael comes to see my shows, I don't think of him as a reviewer. I think of him as an audience member. And I will do my best for Michael because he's left his home, foregone everything else that he could be doing that night, and he's coming to sit in my show.
Jesus, I love you. Well, most people don't care about that, right? I have always said, I had a chance to speak with some school kids, and I said to them, I want to tell you something. The minute I pay for a ticket, you and I have just entered into a contractual obligation. Right. Now you owe me a good show. I said, I get that you're in high school and you're having a good time, but you asked me to take some money that I had to go out, get a job and earn, and I have many places I could put that money. Right. Tonight I've chosen to invest it in your show. So I said, God forbid that you're out there clowning around and deciding, you don't really want to learn your lines, or you're going to wait till, I said, you better know early on in the process that there are people who are about to enter into this contractual obligation. And I said, and I will walk out of a show if you do that to me, if you cut it short somehow. Right. I said, I have that right. And they're like, what? And I said, well, you get it, don't you? Yeah. It's fun to say we're doing theater, but this gets to your point, and I'm glad to hear you say it, but people pay good money. They're not just money, time. Some people, and as I said this to these kids too, I said, it's a big night out for me. Yeah. I'm going to take my wife out to dinner, whatever that costs, right? Right. And then I pay for my ticket, and I might go out afterwards. Yeah.
The competition for your time is staggering. There's any number of things that you can do on a Friday night, and you're coming to my theater to watch my show. I'm emptying my tank for you. Because you could be anywhere, and I want you to keep coming back and seeing my shows.
In a way, it's sad that there's a lot of theater out there now, and unfortunately, a lot of it seems to all fall on the same weekends. Yeah.
And you just have to make up your mind. You can't throw every starfish back in the ocean. You can't see everything, and it's too bad. But at the same time, artists are being artists all over the place.
Yeah. Again, they got to get it out, right?
They got to get it out.
They got to get it out. So Sid Caesar, that whole generation of shows, which it can't be done anymore on TV, I don't think, at this point. It just couldn't
afford it.
No, right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody would gamble it.
I don't think anybody would watch it either. A variety show of that level that's so smart, don't think there would be an audience for it.
Well, you could see the transition, right? Because after the Carol Burnett stuff, even big stars had shows, like Dean Martin would have a show, right, and bring people on. And
thank God for that, because he found Bob Newhart.
Is that right?
Yeah,
he found Bob Newhart? I didn't know that.
He was, I hope I'm not wrong with this, but I think Dean Martin was one of the first people to discover Bob Newhart and say, come on my show. What a find.
Oh my God, isn't that true?
I saw him. I saw Bob Newhart just a couple of years ago. He was 82 years old, and he was at the music hall in Portsmouth. And I had been talking about it, and my mom said, I'm getting you a ticket. You're going to go see Bob Newhart. And I never really cared for his TV shows. I liked Newhart.
Where he was the psychologist and all that?
I liked the psychologist one. I didn't like the Vermont one. But I loved him. And so I went, and he's 82 years old, and he comes out on stage, and it took him about 7 seconds to have the entire audience in the palm of his hand. And this wasn't like, oh, look at the cute old man. Dude, he owned it. Timing, still, at 82 years old, snappy as ever. And you're watching this great man who's lived this life, and you're like, my God.
And he's the least guy, you're looking at him, or at least hearing him, you would think he's the least funny person in the world.
You would.
He's so deadpan.
Yeah, he was from some suburb in Indiana, some white bread guy from Indiana, and he just comes out and starts doing this stuff. But God, his timing.
He loves to do those telephone calls.
Yeah. In fact,
great.
As an homage to him, most of my plays include a phone call because I think somewhere in Playwriting 101 they tell you never have a phone call in it because it's not interesting for the audience. And F that. Bob Newhart can do it. So every time there is some kind of a phone call in one of my plays, because Bob Newhart is so great.
Oh, man. I loved his stuff. God damn, I loved his stuff. So do you do comedy? Is that on purpose, strictly comedy? Do you have another desire to, are there things kind of fomenting in the back there, ruminating, like for any kind of a drama?
No, because I usually with, we'll say, 8 out of my 9 full-length plays, I can wrap it up at the end where it's touching, where you have some drama, where you have conflict. You can only be frustrated and funny and silly for so long, and then you've got to, I don't know, you've got to be human. You've got to be real for a second. Because I do like that thing where you tip the world just a little bit on its side, and things are just a little bit almost impossible, but not really.
Yeah.
Like the 2 women talking about the alien husband. Of course, that's impossible, but is it? So giving the actors who do my shows, they can run the full gamut in these plays. They can be. Kelsey was in Where's Waldo, and we were talking, and we were like, Faye gets to do everything. I mean, you get to be angry, you get to be frustrated, you get to cry, you get to do all of these things in this one role. And yeah, most of it's comedy, 75% of it's comedy, because that's what's fun. But with that fun, you can earn those really human moments with your actors, with your audience.
Are you local? Did you grow up in New Hampshire?
I grew up. My family stepped off the Mayflower.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I can trace them way back. But I was born in Portsmouth, and I grew up in Rye, and then kind of bounced around here and there. And I live in Manchester now because it's closer to where I work. But yeah.
What would you give as a definition for comedy? A good comic bit. What are the components if you had to break it down? Because you spend a lot of time trying to understand this. And
yeah, I treat it like a math equation. There's mathematicians, and I know nothing about math. Nothing. Every single math class I ever had was a D-, just get me out of this thing. I never understood it. But I understood that if you do this and this will happen. If you do this and then take away this has happened. And you learn from watching stuff. And the stuff that I watch or have watched or have grown up on, like the Dick Van Dyke Show and like the Honeymooners and things like that. This vintage stuff is stuff that people don't know and aren't familiar with, so I can use that to my advantage. You're not familiar with Jackie Gleason. Boy, have I got a surprise for you. Go start watching the Honeymooners and watch what changed to the situation comedy forever. I don't know how I would define comedy. It's just...
Don't tell me it's like porn.
It's not.
You know it when you see it.
No, it's not. It's sometimes I don't know what's going to be funny, and I get this idea, and it's just a little bit, and I'll start laughing. I said, yeah, that's it. Waldo was in the basement, okay, at the end of Act 1. And the audience has no idea what's going through his mind right now. And I said to Jamie, I really want you to play Waldo. I know you're going to be directing this play and producing it and all that stuff, but I really want you to play Waldo. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do an homage to Jackie Gleason. There's this great scene in Smokey and the Bandit that was Jackie Gleason's idea, where he and Burt Reynolds meet in that diner. And do you remember the scene?
I don't.
Okay. They're on the run from each other, and Bandit's way ahead of him, and they both happen to stop at this choke and puke. And Jackie Gleason comes flying in like a madman because he's got to go catch Bandit. And Bandit's just sitting there minding his own business. And Jackie Gleason comes flying in. He's like, "Give me a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper. Make it fast." So within 8 seconds, he's shoving this sandwich into his mouth. And Burt Reynolds goes, "What's your hurry? What are you chasing, a bank robber?" And everything is just spitting out of Jackie Gleason's mouth. And he's losing his mind with this sandwich in his mouth like only Jackie could do. So after Burt Reynolds passed away last year, Jamie and I said, "Hey, they're showing Smokey the Bandit at Chunky's in Manchester. Let's go watch it on the big screen." So we went and we're watching this. We're both dying because Jackie Gleason is our hero. And outside I was like, "All right, here's what I want you to do at the beginning of Waldo. Everybody's going to be wondering what you're doing, what you're thinking. You're going to come on stage and say nothing. You're going to come on stage with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a yoo-hoo. There's clutter all over the desk. You're going to sit down at that desk. You're going to take your arm from one side to the desk, slide it slowly all the way to the other side. I want to hear everything that was on that desk crash to the ground. You're going to clear the entire desk off so that you can eat your peanut butter sandwich. And while you're eating it, you're going to talk about the mattress that you just bought last fall." You're laughing. That's funny. I mean, you just
it
think
is
of something
funny
like that, and sometimes it's wordless. Sometimes it's not. It's funny when people trip going up a stair, and they just stumble for a second and they catch themselves. It's people are funny. And it's the things that you don't expect. What's funny is that human moment that you don't expect, that somebody's doing when they think nobody else is looking. You're stumbling, and what do? You look around to make sure nobody saw you. Well, here's 70 people who just saw you, and you still need to look around like nobody saw you. It's a lifetime of gags rolling around in my head. When you had Michael Dominy on here, he was talking about this database of characters that he keeps in his head. Mm-hmm. I keep a database of gags. And
I knew you would. I knew you would.
Set them up because I've been studying this stuff for so long.
And that gets back to you needing to get those out, right? You've got them in there.
Yeah.
For me, this gets back to, again, that Jonathan Winters, they used to put him out on the stage, right? But they would set him up. Yeah. They had a trunk. Do you remember? He had a trunk on stage, and they would put all kinds of props and never tell him what was in there. Every week, it was different. He would just go out, open the trunk, and there'd be all new stuff in there. And he'd just go.
Yeah.
He would just wing it.
I would be terrified.
He had to get that out. I know, right? I would be terrified too. Not him.
The amount of precision that I put into my writing, I can't ever do that. It's all got to be thought out. Everything's got to be calculated. I can't wing it like that.
I'd have a heart attack.
Oh, yeah. That's how I am as an actor, too. I'm a machine when I'm an actor. I do everything methodically.
Oh, yeah?
Exactly the same. There's some times where I'll stumble upon something by accident, but I don't explore once the play has started. I don't ever.
I heard a podcast on my way in today, and he made a reference. He said, you don't learn by consuming, you learn by creating.
Yeah.
And that is the definition of how I love to act. You start off consuming. You get your lines, you stuff them. But you actually learn them, and you learn the character by creating.
Yeah. And that's what, note to all actors out there, the faster you get off book, the faster you can do that.
Yes, it's why I love to be off book the first week or two if I can do it, because then you create.
Right.
All those emotions, all those life experiences can come out.
Your scene partners create. It's all just a giant learning process. It's fascinating.
Oh, I can't stand people who just wait. Yeah. And, Tech Week, they're still on book. And you're like,
oh. Make it crazy. God. I always tell people with one of my shows, this is really going to be very challenging dialogue because it's machine gun dialogue. You cannot wait to learn this stuff. You've got to learn it now. And they still do. They still wait. Yeah. They still wait as long as they can because who likes learning lines?
But isn't it ironic? But if you get them out of the way early, they're out of the way.
And you're so free. It's a whole different, it's that, you look on your schedule and, okay, off book is blah, blah, blah day. And you're just dreading it and you're not off book and you dread going to rehearsal because you're not off book and you're going to let everybody down. But then you hit that rehearsal where you are off book and it's a whole different experience.
It is. It really is. It's a whole new level. It's like you've just let this weight go. The world is fresh and new. And does your wife think you're funny?
I'm currently by myself right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
I thought I heard you reference your wife.
No, I was married many years ago, and that ended.
It's my meds kicking in.
Yeah, I just got out of a relationship, but whatever. Yes. I just kind of feel like if you want to meet girls, you better be smart and funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Self-deprecating funny or just like...
Quirky funny, spontaneous funny. I think that works the best. But yeah, my children used to think I was funny. And then they're both girls, so they hit those teenager years, and then all of a sudden Dad's the biggest dork on the planet.
How old are they now?
22 and 20.
Oh, so they'll think you're funny again soon.
Yeah, the youngest one does. The oldest one is... I put myself around funny people. You know, I decided at an early age I'm always going to be around people who are smarter than me and more talented than me. And I've stuck with that my whole life. Because that's how you learn, that's how you grow. You be around the people who are better than you are.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for you are who you hang out with.
Right.
You know.
Right. If you find that you're the smartest, most talented person in a room, you need a new room.
You must despise negative people. They must just wear on you to be... Because they're terrible to be around.
They give me good material, though.
So you mind them?
After a certain point, tragedy becomes comedy. You know, everything that you've gone through in your life, you can pick and say, eventually, I'm going to laugh at this. You know, I mean, there's certain things that are off limits, but
maybe.
Yeah, you get around negative people, and you think, my God, what must it be like to be you?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Someplace I'm going to use that. Who you are, the terrible person that you are, and I'm going to make an audience full of people laugh. I'll find something that they can connect. Yeah.
Well, everyone knows the negative people, right? And they're the ones they don't want to be around.
Right. We have in background check, any good farce needs a dead body. Who can you kill in 2019 where no one will mind? A Nazi. You can always kill a Nazi. Yes, it was one of the great tragedies of the world. And you can stomp on a Nazi forever, and everybody's going to be okay with it, even in 2019. So
you have been very, very fortunate in putting the Seacoast lets you put your stuff up, right? Your stuff goes up at the Ring, the Hatbox. Do you prefer the smaller venues? Now the Rep is a lot bigger than the Ring and the Hatbox.
You can learn the intimacy of the Rep, but my schooling came from the Players' Ring.
Which is a shoebox. Yeah, I mean, basically.
Yeah. But being when I need to be subtle, when the actors need to be subtle, and I'm as close to you as I am now, God, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And I'm sure you appreciate it too, doing the Hatbox and whatever, when you can just get down to the minutia of your performance, and people can still...
Well, because you can put your energies in a different place. You're not straining to hit the back wall anymore.
Right. It's nice having 200 people.
I know, yeah.
It's very nice, but if you're in a room with 50, in a small room with 50, it feels the same way.
No, I prefer it. I really do prefer it.
Yeah.
Because I know that in a room with only 50 or 70 people, it's much more intimate. Yeah. They're much more a part of the show. They're very well invested in the show.
Right.
And so if they react, it's not because it's a group thing, you know, where they're almost forced to react along with people.
Right.
It's very real.
Yeah. Like, you know, you think about the Palace or something like that, these huge auditoriums. My stuff would never work there, and I wouldn't ever want it to. We did the Star Theater in Kittery.
Don't know it.
Okay, it opened a few years ago, and it kind of, I think, if I'm remembering this right, it was a basketball court, and they have all of these seats, and so it's basically like a high school theater, and great for musicals and stuff like that. And we did a trilogy of my plays there a few years ago, 5-6 years ago. And I was, for me, to that wall, what is that, 30 feet?
Maybe.
From the audience. Wasn't working. Just, my humor doesn't work that way. My actors need to be able to just get everything. You know, I've seen plays at Prescott Park, and it's just that my stuff would never work there. You can do the big productions like Mary Poppins and stuff like that, but I'm limited to where my stuff works. And Hatbox and the Players' Ring, so far so good at the Rep, it works there.
Yeah, one of the nice things about the smaller venues is that an actor can actually pause, and it doesn't look like they've forgotten a line.
Right.
If you're a million miles away, you're looking to see who's going to give him his line because you can't understand what's going on. You're too far. It's like watching a football game up in the...
The downside is they can see that your fly's down.
Hadn't thought of that, but
you just... But yeah, the intimate spaces, God, I live there. Those are the great spaces.
I know. Where are you going from here? I know you got background check, but...
I got background check and then start writing.
You got more ideas there sitting there percolating?
I have a couple. So I just left the Hatbox auditions, and it's frustrating on two levels because you have some people in here and you're like, oh, jeez, God, could you please prepare a little for this? Please just humor me. And then you have those people, and we had auditions Wednesday night and Saturday, and I've seen people that I have to live with the fact that it's going to be a long time before I can get to them.
But you want to get to them.
I want to get to them. My biggest blessing is the ocean of talent that I get to work with, where I can just pick through and grab people and Ray Dudley. What do I want to see Ray do? Yeah, Ray's going to open a jar of pickles for me. I'm going to write a play and Ray's going to open a jar of pickles for me. But the talent that I have access to that's around here.
It's pretty impressive. It's done. Yeah.
For a playwright like me, who gets to meet people who understand my stuff and love my stuff. My stuff isn't for every actor. I think the more trained you are as an actor, the less value you have to me. If you're trained to hit your mark and project and enunciate your words and savor every line. Nope. You are frustrated and you need to talk as fast as you can because that's how this works. And the other thing is that I found is when something is a collaboration, there's that V-chip in their head in these trained actors that are like, I'm supposed to do what my director tells me. I'm supposed to learn my lines and come here and perform the way my director tells me. No. Do you have an idea that you think would be funny? Because that's what we want to do here. Yeah. If it works, my God, throw it in and jam this in. Yeah,
you need that Sid Caesar room of people. Yeah. Cats unleashed.
Great rehearsals. We were. I'll use Kelsey as an example again. We had decided that we were going to fake our deaths in Where's Waldo because we didn't know where he was. This is how the end of Act 1 is going to go. So that's it. We're burning the place down. We're getting some corpses and we're burning the place down. And all of a sudden, during one commercial or during one rehearsal, I'm talking with Chris, and over the corner of my eye, I see Kelsey, and she's crumpling up papers, and I had no idea what she was doing. And we're rehearsing this scene, Chris and I. We're breaking up, basically. And I look in the corner of my eye, and Kelsey is wadding up paper and stuffing it around so that the place will burn down. And we had to stop. We were laughing so hard, we had to stop. And my God, thank God her brain thought of that, because none of us would have. And all of a sudden, that whole scene took on a whole new shape. And you got excited, because like, oh, this is kind of a lame scene, and we're ending the end. We're filling time until Waldo knocks the door down. All of a sudden, this scene has new life in it, because this fantastic actress had a great idea.
I live for creative people. I live it. When I was in college, I never studied acting in school. Never. Never taken one class. I've never done any of it. But I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of creative people.
Right.
And when I was in college and we were doing theater in college, I had these two friends who would, during rehearsal time, always try to do something different and always try to top each other. Never let each other know. So when they went out on stage, they were going to do something just different.
I would hate that.
But it was creative. It was brilliant. It was Kelsey wadding up the paper.
Right, yeah.
And I watched them, and I would just sit there mesmerized that their minds could just leave what they were doing, and they would just, I don't care if it was a limp or a wink or that, they would trip or something. It was incredible to watch them create.
Yeah. And as you get around those people and those kinds of directors and that kind of collaboration, the closer you get to the production, the more my words become just the skeleton. And everything else is the heart and the meat and the soul and the fun of it. And my silly little story just, becomes nothing without the people that you are with.
8x8 was that way. When I watched it, it felt that way.
Yeah.
It felt like you gave them the framework, the words, and they created on top of it and added and embellished it.
We'll do a social experiment. You come see Background Check. October 4th, by the way, at the Hatbox Theater. Come see that, and then I'll send you the script afterwards. And it won't mean anything to you. You'll read 10 pages of it and say, what they did on stage, way better than this.
Yeah. Do you already have a cast?
We are looking for 2 more people.
You didn't find them in the auditions here today?
They're specific. We may have found one. We're waiting to hear back from a couple people. I need a 20-year-old pregnant stripper.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
a niche market.
Yeah. It works so well in the story.
And there's so few of them around.
Exactly. So
not like you can go to a 20-year-old stripper bar where they're all pregnant.
Right. I try not to be so specific when coming up with characters, but within the story, it works really well. Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be a great show.
And again, the date?
October 4th through the 20th at Hatbox.
At the Hatbox.
Deirdre Bridge is in it, who is
really?
Just did Bonita.
Saw it. Oh my God, is that woman talented? Huh?
We ended up doing back-to-back shows together in 2016. One of them was mine, and the other was Christmas Carol. They were back-to-back, and they were both 4-week runs. So for 8 weekends, I was with Deirdre, and we became super buddies. We're like brother and sister. It's fantastic. I love her.
She's fearless.
Yeah. Gary Locke is the director who you had on last month.
Brilliant. He was in 8x8.
He was in 8x8. And I had no idea. Gary and I knew each other and we'd worked together before, but I think I pitched it or I was at the launch party or something like that, and he walked up to me and he said, if you need somebody for this, I'd love to be in it. I was like really taken back. You want to do my crap? Gary wants to do my crap? Sure, we'll find a place for you. It'll be a blast. And he fit right in with everybody, so yeah.
Yeah, he was funny. His cowboy stuff was just funny.
He's
hilarious.
One of those people that he's such a loose cannon, is you just gotta, okay, Gary, you're over here. If I look at you, I'm going to start laughing, so I'm concentrating on what you're saying, but I'm looking at your shoulder.
You are that incubator for those. That's, again, it's the Sid Caesar writing room.
Yeah, and thank God I have the talent around me.
All right, my friend.
This was fun. I was kind of thinking, God, what am I going to say to him? But yeah, this was fun. I appreciate this.
Yeah, I'm glad you came by. I really am. You've been floating out there for all this time. I'm watching your stuff, and I'm like, God, I got to get in touch with this guy. Got to do it.
Well, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for listening. This has been a Square Peg production. And if you'd like to find out more about Square Peg and all that we do, you can find us on Facebook or at www.squarepegnh.com.